Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Head, and I am a high school science teacher. I teach AP, environmental science, and biology. Within my classes, I have a pretty good mix of gifted students and non-gifted students. And so my group decided to focus on some strategies specific to our higher level learning students in the classroom. So differentiation is really crucial for gifted students because it allows us to tailor our instruction to meet their needs, their unique needs and abilities, and most importantly, some of their interests. And so we, often see gifted students learn at a much faster pace. Sometimes they crave a deeper understanding of concepts, compared to their peers. And we can really challenge these students in a way to hopefully prevent boredom and foster intellectual growth. So the approach is to develop critical thinking skills, creativity, and just an overall love of learning for them to reach their full academic potential. So the two strategies that I'm going to talk about today are the grid method and interrelated content, specifically with the hexagon vocabulary activity. So let me share my screen, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. All right, so I do want to start off with the grid model. And what I want to show you here is just kind of a general layout. And so this is really an instructional plan where you can provide students choice, kind of, but basically they are working their way through a tailored pathway. And so they're going to make their way up these different levels of thinking. If you guys notice that at the bottom, it says recall, reproduce, it's kind of lower DOK level. And as you make your way up to level 4 or level 5, depending on how you set it up, you're really increasing their DOK. And so you're going to design an instructional plan that really kind of gives them choices in each of these levels, all with the purpose of achieving mastery at each of those levels before they move on. So here is an example of one from a website called teachbetter.com. And they have an example here with Earth and Moon. They have a learning mastery grid. And so you'll notice that at the bottom is level 1, and that's going to offer some options for these students to be able to gain just basic knowledge. They'll work their way up through level 2, where they're applying, demonstrating, compare and contrast at level 3, construct and design, and at level 5, predict and infer. So there are some choices along the way, kind of like a choice board, but a little bit more organized in the sense that they realize that they have to achieve mastery at each level in order to be able to move on to the next level. So this could be something it's specifically important for gifted students because they may already know level 1. They may already have a decent idea of concepts and understanding of the basics, and they may be kind of automatically ready to move on to level 2 and really kind of start to apply that knowledge to specific scenarios, real life events, and eventually being able to show their understanding by constructing and designing, predicting, inferring, whatever sort of lesson activities you insert in here as they make their way up. Another strategy that I want to discuss is interrelatedness, and that's part of our infographic here. Interrelated content, making connections with hexagrams. So if you've never seen this activity before, it's one of my favorites to do, especially towards the end of the year. I do this in my AP class as we are getting ready for the AP exam. And essentially what this is a way to challenge students to take maybe seemingly unrelated vocabulary terms and figure out what the connection is. And so there is a website in our resources that is going to provide a template that you could use, but the cards end up looking like hexagrams, and then they are going to, in a group, decide how they want to arrange the hexagram cards to show connections between any card that's touching another card. And so this particular site shows an example with some arrows pointing to certain connections between multiple cards. So your groups are going to have to do several things. They're going to have to figure out what the connection is by maybe debating with each other. They're going to have to use those critical thinking skills to think beyond just basic definition. And so they have to tie in potentially multiple units. For me personally, like I said, in my AP class, I will throw them a baggie of cards with all kinds of vocab. And at first they may say, how in the world can I figure out, how this is related to something else? But if they start to really dig deeper into the content and what we have learned in applying these scenarios, they find a lot of connection between our units. And that's how I tell them specifically too. That's how you would get a 5 or, a 4 or 5 on this AP exam is understanding the connections between multiple topics. So this is a really fun activity for them, especially, like I said, at the end of the year where they've got, pretty good sense of all of the units all together. So there's lots of really cool options there for discussions to take place, and then they can, defend their connections. One differentiation I do even within this activity is if I have a group of students that I know doesn't, they don't really have that higher level critical thinking in comparison to another group, I may give them a baggie of cards that are maybe a little bit more obvious, maybe what the connections could be. And then my stronger students who I know have really high level thinking skills, I may give them a bag that that is going to be a bit more of a challenge.